Venus Bay Lighthouse. Our clients, Nick and Jane, they've actually first contacted us to assist in finding a Venus Bay site with elevated views. After assessing a few blocks, we advised on a double block with not great orientation and anticipated views from the top. They'd never owned a beach house before and were looking for a place to begin their semi-retired life with greater opportunity of spending lengths of time at the beach. They also hoped to create a bit of a honeypot for their adult children as they're about to have grandkids, somewhere that they would want to come down and spend time together. Venus Bay is a small coastal community located in South Gippsland, about 2 hours from Melbourne. It's located between the Bass Strait and Anderson's Inlet. It's quite a quirky coastal town. It was only subdivided in 1959, and lots were designated into 3 estates, separated by stretches of farmland. The aerial view highlights the first and second estate of houses, and our site is on the eastern edge of the second estate. The local vernacular of Venus Bay is a mix of pretty cheaply built and generally poorly designed vacation homes, but this is actually part of the character of the area. It's a real egalitarian, everyone can have a holiday home sort of atmosphere. Our intent in Venus Bay is generally not to stand out, but to let the landscape be more present than the architecture. The site had at some stage been partially cleared, but then nothing ever built on it. The upper portion was heavily covered with scrub and tea tree. The change in level from the road to the high point of the site is about 6 metres, and capturing views was key to Nick and Jane. The house needed to be sited at the high point of the site. This part of the coast is really windy, and there's a dominant wind from the southwest. From experience, we know that to design a house with its back turned to the southwest, whereby creating sheltered north-east facing spaces that block the colder southwesterlies and also the late afternoon sun in summer. So the design for the house was really about finding a balance between the concerns generated by the section with those generated by the plan. In section, we had to negotiate the distance from the road up to the ridge. Nick and Jane were on board with parking at the base of the site, but we were still concerned about the breaking up the journey from the car up to the living spaces. In plan, we wanted to capture great views to the north and to the east, but also to bring in northern light into the living rooms and ensuring unobstructed views of the landscape. The T-shaped form of the plan was arrived on early. The house is split into 2 volumes, with the lower containing the entry and guest spaces, and the upper, the main living and bedroom. The lower volume runs front to back, reducing the distance to the front of the block, and the upper volume lies across it at 90 degrees, maximising the views to the east and the north. Initially, the design for upper floor was linear in form, but to better capture views in the sun, the curved plan was evolved. The back face of the curve also protects from the southwesterly winds. The lower level is partially excavated into the top of the hill with retaining walls, and from the entry, the lower living area is further set down, resulting in the house over 3 levels. An important precedent we used to discuss and develop the site and house relationship was local bird hides and wildlife observation shelters. We're really interested in the form that these structures took and the viewing slot that framed the horizon. We used their materiality to also develop a conversation about incorporating the deck within the plan rather than appending to the exterior, about creating an exterior space on the inside of the house. This conceptual approach was actually enthusiastically embraced by Nick and Jane, and they were the ones that coined the term hide house. From the street, the house is designed to be interesting but not imposing. It's set far from the road and at the top of the hill, and the scale is quite difficult to determine. At the entry, a small deck with oversized storage cupboard is built into the house, and a large battened gate leads to the covered entry. Once open on arrival, it stays open until you leave, or it can be locked up and the front door left open for cross ventilation. The house is entirely clad in BAL 29 compliant silver top ash. The lower level is clad in rough cut sawn reverse board and batten, and the upper level is clad in dressed shiplap, creating a difference in texture, shadow and detail between the upper and lower volumes. From the entry, you either go down a few steps to the downstairs living area and the sheltered deck, or up a 3/4 flight to the kitchen and living dining area. At the top of the stairs is the kitchen and dining room. This is the central area of the plan as a key space for the whole home. It's a space that expands on the concept of the bird hide. The walls and floors are lined in spot gum and a ceiling hoop pine. The materials help to create the impression that this could be either inside or outside, and the darkness of the space helps to highlight the view out and also contrast to the adjacent living room. Another key aspect of the room is the idea of the social kitchen for a holiday house. Instead of the kitchen being separated to the dining by an island or a separate space, we proposed that the dining and kitchen spaces would be open to each other, encouraging a coming together in one space for meals and cooking, and making it possible to all lend a hand when the table can be part of the kitchen or the kitchen can be part of the dining. The adjacent living room, by contrast, is a more traditional white living room with fireplace and has windows to the east, west and north. From here, the full height doors provide uninterrupted views to the farm and the tidal estuary. In the southwesterly, the shadows of the clouds pass overhead onto the farmland below, quite an incredible view. A north-facing balcony is set down from the floor and cantilevers over. One of the special aspects of this project has been the surprising realisation of how wonderful the views are over this part of Venus Bay. As you pass between the estates, you're only minorly aware of the connection between the farmland and the tidal inlet. But from up high, the effect is quite mesmerising and somewhat of a revelation. Around the perimeter of the house, the separation of the upper and lower levels creates a number of usable outdoor spaces to chase the sun or to avoid it, while also being sheltered from the wind. There's a range of advantage points to the views, that are framed by the upper level. There's no gas connection. There's only a mains power connection. Water's collected on site and sewer is on site through a sand-based septic system, which is much better than the typical secondary treatment plants. Bedroom has views over the farmland and actually back to itself. And in the bathrooms, we commissioned a local ceramist, Zach Chalmers, to make the sinks. We're really proud of this home, and as are Nick, they love it. We also hope that it will help others see Venus Bay in a different light, a place that's actually quite blessed with natural beauty that may not be at first apparent. Thanks.